Welcome to Lockbox, a podcast providing real estate professionals with action items for success. My name is Jeffrey Brogger, and I'm going to be your host. I'm the founder of two real estate marketing and tech companies, STEEZY.Digital and realnurture.io. In this podcast, you'll learn from top 1% real estate and mortgage brokers the exact secrets to their success. Welcome to Lockbox. Welcome to Lockbox. My name is Jeffrey Brogger, and I'm here today with Frank Leo. Frank, thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Pleasure.
Absolutely. Why don't you kick it off? Tell our listeners who you are and where you're from.
Well, I'm a broker at Remax in Toronto, Canada. So a little bit further north than you are, but we have a big market. I think we're the fourth largest city in North America with about 65 to 70,000 realtors. So there's no shortage of people wanting to get into this business in our area.
Absolutely. No, that's impressive. I have been to Toronto. I did not know it was the fourth largest city in the Northern American hemisphere. So that's amazing. I mean, 65,000 agents is a ton. And you've definitely set yourself apart. I mean, on your website, number one Remax in this city, this city, this city. I mean, you guys are crushing it out there. So I'm very interested to dive into what you're doing today. But to kick things off and give our listeners some perspective from where you came from, what got you into the real estate industry?
Well, I mean, real estate has been a very important tool in people's financial health. And so I knew that I could help people with this very large decision in their lives, which is probably done 2-3 times in a lifetime. So that's something that I want to do. Also, when I started in this business, it was probably before your time. It was a different world. And, you were thought of a good plan to start your career would be to start in the mailroom of a big company. IBM, for example, was a big company at the time. And, you would work your way up. I felt that was limiting. I said, real estate gives you the opportunity to succeed or fail on your own, merits. So I said, if I'm going to make it in this world, I want it to be, based on me, or if I fail, it's based on me. So that independence was something that was very tempting at the time. So I jumped in with both feet. Well,
I would say that you were ahead of your time because it's very common with Generation X, which you'd be a part of Generation X, right? I'm not dating you there. That'd be accurate.
I'm at the cusp of the baby boomers, so I mean,
okay,
I'm there, right? So
even more so to support the point. I feel like that generation, you get a job, you retire, and you have a pension with that company. You work at one company for 40 years. And that was the mentality, and that was kind of passed down to my generation, the millennials. And millennials now have certainly broken that mold. Many millennials switch jobs every 3 years, and it's very common. And many of them are in entrepreneurial ventures early in life. But it seems like you broke that mold. So, that's awesome that you saw real estate for the opportunity that it was and was able to make that decision. So now let's dive into it. What was the transaction volume of the number one Remax team in the Toronto area last year?
Oh, last year. Oh, wow.
Or you could do year to date this year, whatever is kind of fresh on your mind.
We're crushing this year. So we last year we had a record year, even though we had a little bit of a pandemic going on. And this year we're way above last year. So we're doing over 500 million in dollar volume. And I don't know how many transactions that is, but our price point is in the 1 million range for an average detached home. So it's a little bit higher price than some of the other areas out there. But I mean, we love the fact that we're able to help people with this huge investment that a lot of people are using it, as a retirement nest egg, right? So that's what we take pleasure in for sure.
Absolutely. And with that being said, what advice would you give to a real estate broker who might be doing 300 transactions a year? Because it seems like you're doing about 500 sides at around $1 million price point. Would that be fair to say?
A little bit more than that, but yeah, around there. Yes.
Yeah. So if someone's doing 300 transactions in any market, they might have a $400,000 average price point, but they're still doing 300 transactions. What advice would you give that broker, that team leader, to help level them up to 400, 500? Because everyone's always looking for growth, right?
It's actually the opposite of what most people think. I mean, you think you need more opportunities or more people. I mean, what you need to do is really take care of everybody that you have in your pipeline.
Mm,
Make sure that, anyone that you're dealing with, you're going to take an interest in them to the point that it would be like your own home. And so you're helping them buy and sell, and you're getting referrals. So, you grow from the bottom up and not from the top down. So that's how you grow, by not losing clients, but continually growing your base. And that's the best advice I can give. It's a people business. The more people you help, you never have to worry about yourself.
wow. That is such great advice. And it is different from a lot of the answers that I hear. Doubling down on your database. I mean, put it simply, that's what you're saying there, and it's so important. It's a lot easier to keep the people you have than to continuously add new, and the transactions, you aren't turning one transaction into 5 from the referrals and the repeat business. If you always have to go chase, you're always chasing. So that's great advice.
It's a people business, and if you ever forget that, then you're out of business. It's all
Mm-hmm.
about people. It's all about families. It's about helping them in this really, huge decision financially in their lives. That probably is the most expensive one.
Absolutely. And I watched the video on your website, very listing focused. All the top brokers I know are listing focused. And you spoke really emotionally and clearly to the goals of the home seller. And, I thought it was very well crafted in the way that you put together your offer in that video. And I'm just curious, at the stage that you're at now, are you investing in video? Are you investing in, getting that story out there with advertising? Or is it at a point where you're really just doubling down on the database and just focusing on warm business? Like, what's your percentage of, cold business to warm business today?
Well, it's all warm,
True.
but it's not all of that. Your database or your people that you know. We're investing in video. We're investing in all the latest, internet. We do print, we do TV, we do radio advertising, we do billboards. So we want to get out there. You want to be top of mind. In any industry, you have to be there so people are able to know that you're in the business. Our philosophy is to have bees approach. So bees come to you, bees to honey approach, as opposed to you chasing, business. If we want people to know that if they need help in buying or selling, that they can rely on us. And so top of mind is what we focus on, and we invest a lot in marketing. But ultimately, because in our business, we are a marketing firm. I mean, essentially, that's what we do. And if we're not marketing, we're not doing our job.
Yeah, absolutely. And many books point to that, many real estate books. They say, I mean, at the end of the day, really you're a lead generator. Like, that's what you're doing constantly, is generating leads in every aspect of your life, and then helping those leads with their major financial decisions that they have faced to them by, showing them market data, showing them facts, helping them make an informed decision. So on your entrepreneurial journey as a real estate professional, going from, I would imagine single agent to then going and branching out on your own and starting your team and then growing that team, what has been the single most important action that you've taken on a daily basis that has attributed most to your success?
Having an open mind, curiosity, and willingness to change. If there is one constant in this world, it's change. And so I hate to shock you here, but when I started in this business, it was pre-computers, right? We used to use a chisel and hammer essentially to do our contracts. So I'm exaggerating a little bit, but fax machines weren't invented yet. They were invented and they became obsolete during my term in this business. So we have changed with the times to be where we are today, and we've adopted all the changes and embraced them as opposed to push them back. And so a lot of my colleagues at the time that were in the business when I started are no longer here because the change has been too much for them. I think that change is good, and you just have to realize that it's part of our industry. And if you embrace it and use it to help your clients, it's fantastic.
Makes sense. And I can agree with that. I mean, the only constant is change. That was like the title of a book in my business course in college. It's like the only constant in business is change. And it really is true. I mean, it's so rapidly evolving, and technology being introduced to the space, expedited by the pandemic. And as you mentioned, that pandemic last year, all of a sudden everyone's on Zoom, everyone's cool with it. Out of state buyers are doing 3D walkthroughs and tours, like no problem, totally cool with it now. All of a sudden there was this quantum leap in adoption to technology. So yes, there's definitely a change happening every single day, and it's good to have that curious, open mind, like you mentioned.
Absolutely.
So love that. Well, speaking of change, where do you think the industry is heading? I mean, there's a lot of tech companies entering the space, trying to replace brokers. There's a lot of tools available now. Like, how do you see the industry evolving in the next 5-10 years?
I think that it can't be as simple as just ordering online, your home, only because, typically we're in the resale market. There are some new properties, of course, but every home is different, and the condition it's in is different. And so what we do is personalize the experience for the buyers to find the best home for them in terms of decor, layout, size that they enjoy. But our job is to make sure that they buy in the right location, the right type of property, the right features. And that's from an investment perspective, because they both go hand in hand. You see, when you make money in real estate, not when you sell it, when you buy it. So if you buy poorly, you're going to have a hard time making it up. But if you make a good purchase, you're going to look like a superstar when it comes to selling.
Absolutely. I recently heard that, and it was for the first time that I had heard it, but it rang so true. And then now you just said it a second time, just in a couple of weeks. You make money in real estate on the purchase. Makes total sense. Makes total sense. And I mean, you cash out when you sell. And that's why people think, oh, I sold at such a high price. And there's definitely some emotion and memory tied to that time. Like, oh, I made this much on this property. But really, that money was made way before when you made that sophisticated
If you buy the
purchase.
wrong home, if you buy the wrong home and you need to, spend money, 50, 100,000, 200,000 in that home to get it up to what the level of comfort or, feasibility, then that money is gone. I mean, if you buy a home that doesn't need that, you're up another $100,000 or $200,000 in our market anyway. It's a lot of money that we're talking about. So you can't just push a button and see that superficially, even on a video. You have to know what to look for, where to look for it. And so we are, a very important part of that information for our buyers. And if they make a mistake, it's not one that you walk away from, because typical home purchase is a 25-year amortization period. So it'll be a long time before you're off the hook, so to speak.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I have heard that time heals all wounds in real estate, but you got to wait a long time. So I'm curious about lead generation. I own a lead generation and digital marketing agency, and I'm always curious what out there is working great for other top brokers that probably have some similar systems in place. So, what's been your number one most profitable lead generation source, other than referrals, of course?
Well, we do, I can honestly tell you, I know that only 50% of what I do works. I just wish I knew which 50%, right? So I don't know if you've heard that before. It's a true thing. Yeah. So we do a lot of different things. The whole idea behind marketing is to be omnipresent everywhere. And so, of course, you want to hit the digital marketing space because that's important. A lot of people are online, but you want to hit the traditional space. So we use print as well. Some people don't want print, or they think it's outdated. Well, you know what? For a certain group of homeowners, people with money who are older, they like print. So we're going to hit those as well. Right? We use television advertising. We use radio. We use billboards. So when you put them all together, what you're doing is you're hitting everyone. So our goal is to have everyone know that we're out there and that we can help them. Top of mind is the key to any brand. Now, once you have that, it's just a matter of them, inviting you to help them when they need you. So they contact you. And so that's very important to us. And we're able to address their concerns and really care about their needs and able to help them, because our marketing is so extensive. As I mentioned to you before, marketing is very important. So when we're selling a property, our goal is to find the ideal buyer for that home. The most, I won't say affluent, the one that has the most money to to pay for that home, but also that will like it. So so if we can reach more buyers, and we typically reach in excess of 8 million potential buyers weekly, we're going to get higher prices for our sellers. And that's what it's about. It's having a system out there that's going to be able to help our clients to the maximum.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it seems like you have a lot of systems in place at this point that help to promote those listings, syndicate them, leverage some digital marketing to help get them out there on social media and, websites and things like that. So that way you can then go present that to your sellers, right? And say, look at our marketing package, it's second to none. I mean, at the end of the day, like, what does the seller want in the simplest terms? They want to get the most money possible in the quickest time possible, as easily as possible. Right?
Exactly. Well, in our market, and I'm sure many markets across North America, we've had situations where we had a shortage of inventory.
Absolutely.
And there's been something, multiple offers on a property, or potentially that's the case. And we've had situations where you hear someone sold their property, in the first 6 hours to the first person that came there, and they got a great price for their home, right? When they tell me this, you know what I tell them? I'm so sorry. You see, if you sold it to the first person that saw your home, and they're the only person that's seen your home, then ask yourself how many more people are out there looking that never saw your home, that never got a chance to get in it. And how much money did you end up losing?
Yes. And when you didn't have someone else to have them bid against, how much more money were they willing to spend for that house?
Exactly. You have to know your market. You have to have the pulse. I'm not saying there's not an exception to the rule, but for the most part, if you're not reaching the most amount of buyers and the right buyers, you're losing money in this market. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Those words ring true. So when it comes to taking care of your clients, doubling down on your database, what do you do for your clients that nobody else does in the industry that you know of?
You know what? I have no time to focus on what nobody else does. I don't know what everybody else does. I just know that I know how I want to be treated, and that's the way I treat my clients. I'm always there for them when they need me. If they ever have any questions, we reach out to them on a regular basis and make sure that, they know that they have a resource, not when they're just buying or selling, whenever they have a question, whenever they have a concern, they want to have a conversation, they just reach out to us and we're there for them. And that's what I want them to know. It's not just about a buying and selling situation. We're there for anything that they need. Sometimes they ask, I need to do this kind of work on my home. Can you recommend someone? And we absolutely have that list of qualified people that we can trust to recommend to them.
Yep, absolutely. Being just a valuable phone number to call for them, right? Adding value to them. That's awesome. So what are 1 to 3 books that have greatly influenced your life or career?
A lot of books. I'm reading all the time. So it depends on when you talk to me. I love Never Split the Difference.
I just finished that. It's great.
It's a great book. Great. So if you want to negotiate, that's great. That's interesting. You love negotiating. I mean, obviously the traditional ones, Think and Grow Rich, and, the 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. There was 12-Week Year. I forgot what the title was. I was reading that about 4 books ago. That was fantastic. So there's so many, what it is. It's about optimizing your awareness of what's around you, caring for the people that are around you. That applies to your family, to your clients, to your employees, to everyone. Being a good person, being aware of other people's feelings and making sure that you're addressing them. I think listening is what I'm learning more and more often. And you learn that the more you listen, the less you have to speak, and the more you're helping people.
The more you listen, the less you have to speak, and the more you're helping people. Powerful. And if you just listen and mirror people, you'll be doing one of the biggest principles out of Never Split the Difference. So seeing your success today, it's easy to kind of be blinded and think that, oh man, Frank was just, handed this life on a silver platter, like wish I could be Frank. But is there like a failure that you point back to that really was a huge turning point or a learning lesson that set you up for later success? Do you have like a favorite failure of yours?
Well, I have a lot of them, and to get where you have to be willing to take some risks and make some decisions over time, and they don't always work out, but you always either win or you learn. And so, a favorite one, I don't really look at it that way. I mean, I've done some things that are not traditional. I'll give you one that when I started in this business, again, this is a long time ago. the market crashed in '89. So the market when I started in this business was going down every day. Unlike today, it's going up. Every day it was going lower and lower and lower. And I remember I had a family contact me and they said, I need to sell my home. I can't afford to keep it. I lost my job. And at the time I had just started and I hadn't really, I needed money to survive. But they said to me, I got 4 kids and I can't keep the home up. I need to sell. And I looked at the situation. I said, no, you know what? You're not selling this home. You're going to, close this door, have this, rent out your basement, keep the property, because if you sell right now, you won't be able to get back into the market. And so at that time over there, it would have been very important for me to make a sale. And I decided that, of course, this family needs my help. I think it was 8 or 10 years later, they contacted me and they said, you know what? Now we're going to move. But they were happy. They made money. They could make a move. Everything was good. And he said, look, I know 10 other realtors. I know people in my family. I'm coming to you because you were the only one at the time that helped me keep my home. And so that is what real estate is all about, is giving the proper advice, the good advice to help people. And you know what? Is it a mistake? No, it's not a mistake. That's what you have to do. The mistake is to do bad business, to make a deal, even though you wouldn't recommend it. And so I have made those mistakes. I've done a lot of marketing mistakes where I tried something that didn't work. And you being in a digital marketing business, you know how that works. You have to keep going. And so everything that I've done, I don't regret because, like I said, I've learned something from it.
Wow. What was that like for you 10 years later to have that I sound like it was the husband or the male figure. He called you up and say that.
Well, it makes you feel good. I mean, you're doing the right thing. My dad always told me, do good and forget about it. Do bad and remember it. So, I mean, I know that good news spreads a lot slower than bad news. I just have confidence that I'll be around long enough to hear some good news in the future.
Wow. I love that quote, by the way.
That's
awesome quote. What is one of the best or most worthwhile investments you've ever made? A lot of times it's non-financial, by the way, but just curious about that.
Oh, well, that's called the wife. You find the right partner, then you're good. If you don't have
good
the right
answer.
Partner, you're good.
Good answer. So when it comes to all of the training and all of the hot air that's out there today, going around between real estate professionals, are there any bad recommendations that you hear?
Well, I think that it's a tough business. People don't realize it outside the industry. I think the focus is always on generating leads or opportunities. And so, although that is very important, what I find is that most agents, because they're so immersed in that lead gen part of the business, they're not focusing enough on the remaining 20%, because that's 80% of the business, is on what you do when you get the business, right? So what we focus on our training is the 20%, is that when you meet the person, how do you make sure that you are prepared to help them with their largest investment? What do you say? What do you show them? How do you prepare them? How do you guide them? What do you recommend? All those things that are key, but obviously you're not there enough because you're always lead genning.
Such a good point. Really focusing on the 20% that matters and drives the transactions, which is knowing your market, presenting those facts to your potential seller, and really just letting them know, hey, here's what's happening. If you want to sell at the price that you want it for, just know that we're going out above market, right? And just being more of an informative sounding board rather than saying, oh no, we should drop the price, this and that. It's like, well, they want to sell it for that much. And maybe they know something that you don't. I was just on a training, which this is so fresh in my mind. And the broker said, I had 3 reputable brokers. He's on the commercial side. So we had 3 reputable residential guys come out and value his property based on comps. They all pulled comps. They all looked the same, comparables, and they valued his property $150,000 less than he thought, being a 25-year commercial broker. And he said, maybe I'm wrong, right? I'm not on the residential side. And so he did something that none of them did. He went and walked the comps because he's old school. he used to have index cards
That's right.
and film photos that he carded in to his listings to show his market data, right? So he just took a day or two and drove around and he said, I like my house better than all of those houses. And I know that a buyer is going to as well. And guess what? He got 150K more than any of the other brokers said his house was worth. So really having that down, that's the 20% that matters. It really is.
Having the knowledge to do, the things that make that difference. And that's huge. We've gone to situations that I mentioned to you before where people have sold very quickly. We go in, similar home, 3 doors down, $200,000 a week later, more money, right? Why? Because we found the right people. I'll tell you a story that I tell a lot of people, and I think it really resonates to give you a good perspective. We've all heard of people going to a garage sale, and they go to a garage sale and they pick up a painting for $10, $20, right? And it's wonderful. Then they get that painting, they get it appraised at an art dealer, and that art dealer subsequently finds that painting to be a valuable one, and then they put it at auction to their collectors, and they get $150,000, $200,000 for that painting, right? The question I have for you and the seller of that painting at the garage sale, is that painting any different from the garage sale it's the same painting. The difference is the awareness of value that the broker may have had and the ability to reach the ideal audience to get them the most money. So this is something that's happened time and time again in the art world and the jewelry world, but it's happening in real estate every day. It just, people don't find out until it's too late. They say, my neighbor sold for so much more money and I feel bad.
Makes total sense. And that is a great analogy. I'll make sure to quote you when I say that, because that's a good one. What is your process for evaluating what to say no to?
We do something very, very important when we have a property for sale, because we invest thousands upon thousands of dollars in marketing. So it's not something that we take lightly. We will go in there and we'll work and we'll invest our dollars there. If we cannot sell it, we don't want it. If the person is not going to be reasonable and we know, that the market won't bear what their price is, we will say, listen, you do what you got to do, try it out. If it doesn't work out, let us know. We'll walk away from it. And we have to, because, you can't afford to lose that kind of time, money, and energy and your reputation on somebody that's not going to listen to your knowledge.
So that's a situation where seller has rose-colored glasses, wants way more than it's worth. And after demonstrating the facts of here's what the market would bear, and here's what is going for over asking, and you're even above that, that's a situation where you're like, hey, best of luck, and call us, if it doesn't work out. I hope you get that, but we're not comfortable representing you in that listing at that price.
Absolutely. We're if someone's not going to take our advice, where you headed? You're not going to be able to help someone who doesn't want help.
Man, 100%. When you feel overwhelmed or unfocused, what is your process, or do you have some questions that you ask yourself to get back on track?
Well, hopefully that doesn't happen too often, but I mean, you want to, step away, rest, meditate a little bit, and come back with a fresh perspective. You don't want to be overwhelmed. You can't think when you're in that situation. So, I have a coach that I bounce off my ideas and my, issues. If I have any concerns, maybe I'll get a fresh perspective. So I've recently done that, and I think it's been very beneficial for me.
Absolutely. Having a coach is so critical. I mean, the accountability alone is what makes it worth it for me. But I mean, think about the top athletes in the world, Tiger Woods, whatever, symbol that is for you. They all have coaches, right? They help you get to that next level when you have kind of maxed out your own potential by yourself, and then you can get a fresh perspective. And you also mentioned meditation and being able to just take a breath, take a step away. I think that's so key. And it's really hard to do when you're tangled up in it. Mm-hmm. And I feel like a lot of agents, they get into real estate because they imagine easy money, time freedom, like all these things that are loose. They're very attractive from the outside in. And then you get into the industry and you realize now I set my own hours, so now I work all the time. And then a couple years in, you're burnt out and you're wondering what you did. Take time off, right? Take time off, clear your head, take vacations. Like Darren Hardy talks about the way to increase productivity, go take a vacation.
Well, it's true. As soon as you plan a vacation, you get extra busy. But one of the things I think that you hit it on the nose, and I give you kudos for that. People think that they have more time and they work less and they, they're their own boss. And I'm going to refute that ideology or that thought, because when you go to a normal job, you have one boss. If you're successful in real estate, you can have 5, 6, 7, 10, 20 bosses at the same time telling you what they want done and how they want. So in actual fact, it's a lot more and not less than the average person, if you want to be successful, of course.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense. And those bosses are in the forms of those listing agreements and those demanding and anxious sellers.
That's right. Absolutely. They want action. They want action now and results. And we're here to deliver for sure.
Absolutely. Well, in the last 5 years, what new belief, behavior, or habit has most improved your life?
5 years, we can go back in the last 2 years that we had tremendous change. Technology has changed. Everything has changed. You've had to be more disciplined because of COVID. We were locked up a little while across North America. So, taking care of yourself, I think, is paramount. So the first thing you do is make sure you watch what you eat, you exercise, and that's been a big part of moving forward. A better you, because then if you're in good shape, like when you're in an airplane and the masks come down, you're supposed to put your mask on before you put it on your child. So if you can't help yourself, you can't help your child. So that's the first thing. On top of that, the technology. Look at video conference calls. This is incredible. We're able to have this tremendous vehicle where we can share our ideas without traveling. And so this allows more people to unite and talk and discuss and share and enhance their lives. And all these things have come together in a very short time. But you know what? I can't imagine going back to 2 years ago and things going so slowly. We'd go to, hop on a plane and go to a mastermind, spend, 4 days there and then come back. Well, you can do that every day if you want. So the speed of learning is heightened. And I think, what people have to be careful about, I'm going to say this, is information overload, where they have so much great ideas that they end up doing nothing. Less sometimes is more. But you have to act on it.
Analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can save time and execution with effective planning, but you got to execute, right? You got to go pull that trigger. You got to make that phone call. You got to knock that door. Whatever your strategy is that you're trying to learn, there's immediate and massive action right after you learn it that's required for that to, number one, work, and for it, number two, to sink in and actually make sense to you. So I'm a big fan of that, and I appreciate you bringing that up.
Well, it's something. Well, I've learned that you keep working on something until you get it going and you make it work 100%. You got that plate spinning, and you get another one, and you work on that. So you focus on making everything work before you jump onto the next one. Dabble, but you have to really take action and really don't give up on things, because a lot of the things that we do, and Jeffrey, you've been doing it. It doesn't happen. If somebody tries your service, for a week, it's not going to happen. You have to be there a little bit of time to get the traction required to see the results.
Absolutely. No, very true. Very true. And, my best clients understand that. They don't start anything unless they're going to do it for a year. And I don't lock them into terms. I say, hey, it's month to month, but this thing takes time. And they understand that. And then now they're here with me 4 years, right? Because they were able to stick that out. So you nailed it on that. I have one last question I'd like to ask you. So I have a broker friend who I respect a lot. He's been in the industry 20, 25 years as well. And he said, how many real estate agent retirement parties have you been to? And that just stuck with me. Like, ever since he said that, I was like, oh man, it's so true. You get into it because there's unlimited earning potential and there's all this upside. But then a lot of times you realize almost too late that like, oh gosh, I didn't have an end game in mind. So, a principle that I learned was like, don't get into business until you know what your exit strategy is. And gosh, I had businesses started and failed that took a ton of time and energy because I didn't have an exit strategy. So now when I get into something, I do. So my question is, what's the end game for the Leo team? Well, what are you building towards?
Okay, well, I told my wife that I would retire after there was a program out there. It was called Freedom 55. I don't know if you're aware of it. There was a investment type of plan where you at 55 could retire. So when I started in this business, I told my wife that that's the plan, is to retire at 55. But over the years, of course, obviously things happen. So at 55, I announced my retirement and that I was going to pursue my passion, which happened to be real estate. So nothing really changed, right? So that is actually the answer to your question, right? You see, I talk to people, and if you love what you're doing, then what else would you do? I mean, if you spend your life doing this and talking to people, it's not about stopping it, because we need a lot of people, when they retire, they don't have anything to go to. They're watching TV, they're golfing, or whatever it is. If that's what you love doing, hey, all the power to you. But you can still go on your holidays, you can still enjoy the family, you can do the things you want to do. But when you get back after your holiday, I'm not going to be sitting on the couch. I'm going back to the office, and I'm going to enjoy what I love doing, helping people. So the answer to your question, if you find what you love doing, you never have to retire.
Great answer. Great answer. I mean, you hear the horror stories of, a broker having a heart attack on a Friday night in his office alone. But then you also are on this side of it with massive success, enjoying what you're doing, loving it, and thinking, why would I retire and sit around and do nothing? I would still like do my own personal real estate deals and look at investment and like, yeah.
You have to, if you're, the thing is, if you're doing something you really hate for so long that you have to run away from, that's a lot of years that you're going to be in suffering. And, thankfully that hasn't happened, for me, and I'm hoping to share the love of the business with my team, and they can also, love helping people and have a great life and great business life that you never have to retire from, because you just love it so much.
Yep, absolutely. No, it makes sense. And I appreciate you imparting that wisdom on my listeners as well. So is there a question that I should have asked you, or anything that you'd like to elaborate on from earlier?
I don't know what else you want. I mean, there's a lot of things everyone wants to know about the business. I believe very simply that you have to love what you do, of course, but in our business, if you want to succeed, it's really, really simple, but it's not easy. And that is, put yourself in the shoes of your client, whoever that may be, if they're buyers or sellers. And you know what? Do for them what you would have wanted done for you if you were in their shoes. Going back to, if they're buying their first home, you have to feel and remember those emotions, the fear, the uncertainty. And if you have to be able to help them, hold their hands all the way through that journey. And if you can do that time and time again and put yourself in each individual person's spot, then you're doing a great service, because you're taking them through that journey, which can be very stressful, making it smooth, giving them great advice, and they'll be forever grateful. And that's why my business has grown. When I started, there were no teams. It was just me. And I never planned on having a team. What happened was I just did what I do. Then I got busy, and I got too busy. I couldn't handle it. So I had to get some help. And then because I had more time, I got even busier and had to get more help. And then I got even busier and I got more, and now I need more help. So I still need more help. It's wonderful. It's a great problem to have.
Absolutely. No, it is a great problem to have. And it seems like that busyness, or that level of inbound interest to doing real estate with you as their broker, has come from you having their best interests in mind, you keeping those emotions at top of your mind during the transaction, because through the law of familiarity, when we do something hundreds of times, it just becomes second nature, and we become kind of aloof to it. It's natural. The things that we think are just so boring and mundane, are fascinating to someone who is outside of that industry, even just 1 degree. So remembering that is so important. And you've mentioned it multiple times throughout this podcast, which I appreciate. Biggest transaction someone will ever make. Probably only do it 2 or 3 times in their life, right? Emotions run high, whether it's first-time home buyer or the baby boomers selling their home that they want to make sure to maximize because they put so much into, right? I mean, really, I appreciate your emotional quotient, right? Your EQ, your ability to like not only look at someone, it seems like, and be able to read the situation, but just to go into it knowing that like people are emotional beings. And so you got to look at that aspect of a transaction. And hey, Never Split the Difference talks all about that. So, you know, yeah, pick up that book if you're listening. It's a great one. So, Frank, how can listeners contact you if they're interested in maybe a referral or joining the team?
Well, I mean, my website is getleo.com, and you're welcome to go in there and you can send us an email if you have any questions. We're happy to answer them as well. I just hope that anyone getting into the business loves people, loves to help people. And if you do, you're going to have a very happy career. And that's, I think, the message in this interview, if you want to call it that, you can be successful, happy, and help people. And so that's the ultimate goal, I think.
Man, I love that. And you do exude happiness. I mean, it's clear that this is what you love to do. So I really appreciate you taking some time, recording this and letting us then share it with the world, because there's a lot of value in this recording. So Frank Leo, everyone, top team in the Toronto area. And if you have any interest in referring business, joining his team, learning more, visit his site. I'll link to that below. Thank you so much, Frank.
Thanks, Jeffrey. You have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you for listening. If you want to accomplish your real estate goals, then I highly suggest downloading my free Ultimate Real Estate Goal Setting Framework. The link is in the description of the show, and it will help you break down your annual income goal into the amount of phone calls, appointments, or open houses you need in order to achieve that goal. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.